afternoon and thank you for staying with us here on this special coverage of the visit by King Charles and Queen Camilla in Kenya, who are set to be in the country until November the 3rd. And vast array of issues will be on the table that will be discussed between London and Nairobi, including areas of cooperation and mutual interests, from climate change, bolstering bilateral relations and security, amongst the other issues, including climate change, promoting opportunities for the youth in the country and also employment, advancing sustainable development and creating more stable and secure region, the vast interests of the United Kingdom. The King this morning met President William Ruto at State House, and our team is on the entourage keeping tabs with his convoy here in the county of Nairobi. And this afternoon they are scheduled to visit 3 areas with the Queen, and at the moment the pictures coming to you live, and this is the visit the King and the Queen are making to City Shamba, which is an organic farm, urban farming, that is located in Eastlands here in the county of Nairobi, at the Mama Lucy Hospital, to be specific, along Kangundo Road here in Nairobi, where they will be inspecting what the King has held at heart for a very long time, and one of his last engagements as the Prince of Wales before the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth, and talked about his long-standing passion for organic food and its importance to what he said is the society's health. The mission of this is to implement a localized food system through capacity development of urban communities and their reliance on urban farming. As you can see, the live pictures coming to you from the City Shamba here in Nairobi. Improve food security and nutritional levels to urban agriculture. That is one of the areas that is of interest to the King, and also one of his major engagements before he inherited the throne following the passing on of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. He said, one of the reasons I went organic 40 years ago was because I felt there was an overuse of antibiotics, and I felt that if you overdo it, you end up with resistance. Anyway, that happened. I was told I was complete idiot, he said, for even suggesting going the organic way. And here he will be inspecting the localization of food systems through capacity development of urban communities. And he holds so dear. The King had personally farmed organically at Home Farm near his Highgrove residence in Gloucestershire. But in 2010, and on the eve of the pandemic, it was announced that he would not be renewing a lease as he prepared for greater royal responsibilities. He continues to farm organically at the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk in the United Kingdom. And organic farming methods strictly limit the use of antibiotics. And you can see the explanations that are made to the King, who is in the company of the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, who as well doubles up as the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, at City Shamba here in Nairobi, that is located at the Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road here in the county of Nairobi, which is among one of the areas that is listed for a visit by the King and his delegation from the United Kingdom, and also the staff of the British High Commission here in Nairobi. And that clearly tells you of him being very specific and paying lesser-like attention to organic farming, what he held so dear. And he at some point even said it seems to spread further and further as people take up a Western lifestyle. And what's so sad is that people are still adopting this lifestyle when we have discovered what damage it has already been doing to the health of the population. This is an interview that he did in the UK with the Guardian newspaper. And there you go, still, I mean, focused on what is so dear to him and passionate about, of organic farming and its bearings on the society's health, saying that antibiotics are the real cause of the dipping health status of many across the world. And this, one of the areas that he is to visit, and he is visiting already, which was listed by the British High Commission here in Nairobi, tells all about, is a tell-all sign of his passion and the hand-on-heart commitment that he made even while farming organically, and still does so in Sandringham Estate in Norfolk in the United Kingdom. And there you can see still passionately pursuing that goal here, even on his visit, the first outside the United Kingdom. For now, before we proceed with the details of that City Shamba visit by the King of the United Kingdom, let's engage with our reporter Seth Olale, who has been in the convoy of the king. Good afternoon, Seth. And it seems that his lesser-like attention, passion, and follow-ups of being passionate about organic farming comes with him to Nairobi County. What more can you tell us from City Shamba?
You know, and a lucrative initiative when you look at, you know, the kind of smart farming being effected here by the management of Mama Lucy Hospital. This is a project, they say, that has, you know, partially contributed to the feeding not only of patients here, but also feeding the staff at this particular premise. And it is, you know, being upheld for, you know, its very, you know, natural and, you know, organic background. And so this just tells you, you know, the way forward for, you know, Kenyans to embrace, and especially a project being undertaken in an urban, you know, environment where there's so much limited space. This is definitely what, you know, the royals, you know, their majesties, King Charles III and Queen Camilla want, you know, not only, you know, the management here and the community at Mama Lucy Hospital to embrace, but also, you know, Kenyans as a whole, because remember that agriculture is a very key component in, you know, the bottom-up agenda of the Kenya Kwanza lands. Ayub.
For the upbeat assessment on the visit by the king, who at the moment is at the City Shamba, which is at Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road, Eastlands in the county of Nairobi, which is part of his passion in farming organically, and the significance it does bear, saying that the last occasion when Charles was willing to speak so candidly about his personal views, he said in an interview in 2018 that he would stop speaking on topics he felt strongly about when he became king of the UK. Many environmentalists say King Charles has been vindicated of many of his warnings about the risk of plastic waste, including gases pumped outside by endless cars and aeroplanes. This is the climate question of where his passion also lies ahead of the UK, that ahead of the COP28 climate conference in the United Arab Emirates. And just 2 years ago, the United Kingdom hosted the COP26 climate conference in the Scottish city of Glasgow, where the UK produced the president of the climate conference, that was Alok Sharma, who at some point even was emotional about agreements that he said were to be reached, but countries dragging their feet on some of the final agreements that were to be penned by the biggest polluters. And thereafter, the climate conference, which happened in the Egyptian port city of Sharm el-Sheikh here in the African continent, which continues to bear the brunt of climate catastrophe, but is a small proportionate polluter of the world. And thereafter, what will be happening in the United Arab Emirates, an area that for the king is very special when it comes to climate change, and also for the United Kingdom and Britain in particular. And in regards to this organic farming where the king is, and an area that he is so dear to him. I mean, speaking at a global allergy symposium at Dumfries House in Scotland, the king said he was concerned by expert evidence that Western lifestyles may have contributed to reported global increase in allergies. Therefore, his passion, and at some point even said that he was being labeled an idiot for championing for organic agriculture, which he said has significant health positive consequences. And there you can see the pictures that we have live at the moment of the king's visit, who is being taken around by one of the officials at the City Shamba that is focused majorly on the implementation of a localized food system and processes through capacity development of the communities in urban areas, or set up as such in Nairobi, for example, on urban farming and the positivities of that. According to also the vision of City Shamba, where the king is now at the moment, and as you can see, walking through the small piece of the City Shamba, is to improve food security and nutritional levels through urban agriculture and provision of space for areas to farm organically. And one of his last official engagements as the Prince of Wales before taking over the helm of the monarchy from his mother, Queen Elizabeth, who was crowned the Queen after her father passed on while she was here in Kenya, the county of Nyeri. His engagement on his last day before her death, he talked about his long-standing concerns that the widespread use of antibiotics could lead to increased resistance in bugs and viruses, therefore affecting the health of the population. Also expressing worry about Western lifestyles and his general concerns, which to many he was vindicated, suggesting that he supported concerns that modern homes could be over-sanitized, potentially reducing exposure to microbes that can be beneficial to health, he said. And to quote him, "When I was small, if I dropped my food on the floor, I was encouraged to eat it. I was told it was good, clean, that it won't harm you at all. Now," he said, "it's gone berserk. I think the other way." That is his concern. And on a meeting he held in September last year, he also pointed out the significance of organic farming, which he said is good for the growth of the population and also the area of climate concern that he expressed his reservations about, and therefore encouraging the use of organic farming in what he said was meant to reduce allergies, and that was the game changer in the health of the populations around the world. And he talked about this during the Allergy Symposium, which was organized by Natasha Allergy Research Foundation, which was set up by the parents of Natasha Edgan Lepros, who died in July 2016 after suffering an allergic reaction from baguette containing sesame seeds. And this is also the area of passion for the king. He says, "One of the reasons I went organic farming way because I felt there was an overuse of antibiotics which exposed many to health hazards. And I felt," he said, "that if you overdo it, you end up with resistance." Anyway, he said that happened. I was told I was a complete idiot for even suggesting going the organic way. Interestingly, coming against the backdrop of the green light given to the importation of genetically modified organisms and the resistance that was mounted, and the courts giving the clean bill of health. And this coming the contrasting elements of him holding so dear organic farming and what appears to be the way the country is going in terms of boosting its food security in seeking the intervention of the genetically modified organisms. And these are some of his final remarks also as the Prince of Charles before he was crowned as the king after the passing on of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. Later, we'll also be getting a live update on the same from Chemutai Goin, who is at the library for the signing of the agreement on education and to sign agreements in regards to education between Kenya and the United Kingdom. That is meant to boost the levels of education, which has the lion's share of Kenya's budget, as expressed yesterday by President William Ruto, who during the inspection of or the official of the examinations that were administered yesterday, starting day one of the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and KEPSEA at the Kikuyu Township Primary School, saying that the government has committed the largest budget to the education sector, which he said is the government's biggest plan in boosting its human resource capability, and how, of course, the country continues to export its human resource in different professions across the fields of agriculture, engineering, medicine, and which he said is the asset that the country bears, and therefore also reiterating its importance to the growth of the country economically, saying the investment in education is the best that the government can make. Therefore, Chemutai Goin later will be giving us an assessment of the agreement on the signing of education. And at the moment, the Education CS Ezekiel Machogu is also at the same venue where our colleague Chemutai Goin is, who will be giving us an assessment later. But for now, the focus is on City Shamba, where the king is, and in his company, government officials Among them, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who also is the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, officials from the British High Commission here in Nairobi, and also those who are part of the entourage of the King, who arrived in Kenya for 4-day visit that is set to end on November the 3rd, and also the areas that are said to be of interest to both countries, including the mutual interest and the benefit that will accrue from the mutual beneficial relationship between the United Kingdom and Kenya. The King is set to also meet the United Nations staff, faith leaders, young people and Kenya Marines training alongside the British Royal Marines, as well as attending an event celebrating Nobel laureate, the late Wangari Maathai. The program will also reflect the Kenya-UK relationship on a wide range of issues, including boosting the mutual prosperity, tackling climate change, promoting youth opportunities and employment as part of the relationship, advancing sustainability in development and creating a more stable and secure region. Of course, supporting Kenya as part of its initiatives, including in its military and diplomatic leverage in Somalia, where Kenya is part of the AU peacekeeping mission sanctioned by the UN Security Council as part of the effort to restore stability and sanity in Somalia alongside Ethiopia, Djibouti, Uganda and Sierra Leone, and also the role played by Kenya and Ethiopia in reconciling the warring parties following the standoff between the federal government of Ethiopia and the Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed and the Tigray People Liberation Front, and the role played by former President Uhuru Kenyatta in midwifing the rapprochement between the federal government of Ethiopia and the TPLF. And of course, recently, the deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces in the Democratic Republic of the Congo as part of the role undertaken by Kenya in also stabilizing the Democratic Republic of the Congo. These are some of the initiatives the UK continues to support Kenya on, including the use of its diplomatic and military leverage in maintaining regional peace and stability, and therefore why this visit is so key and important from the King and the Queen of the United Kingdom, who was here even before ascending to the throne as Prince Charles, and the historic moment it does bear. One of the visits he made was during the burial of Jomo Kenyatta Sr., that he came as prince because his mom was also here as princess before getting back to the United Kingdom after the passing on of her dad as a queen, and to be received by then the United Kingdom wartime Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. And at the city Shamba is where the King is at the moment. He is taken through some of the products of the organic farming process at city Shamba, which is located at Mama Lucy Hospital, and step by step the attention with which he is focused on the products and the explanations that are given to him by the officials at the Shamba. Of course, not regarding its size in terms of the area it does occupy and lie in along Kangundo Road in Nairobi. But here, the main message is on organic farming, and which the King has been very key about when he, at the United Kingdom, also one of his last engagement was that clarion call on organic farming, which he said, while pursuing it, he has been called names, and therefore, which according to him, did not deter his passion and call in the across the international arena for organic farming, and that has been what he passionately so held. And following the Queen's death in 2022, he also continued with the same, and therefore the reason for the visit, and one of the areas that he is visiting at the moment here in Kenya, City Shamba, where he's been taken through by officials of the products from the City Shamba farm, as you can see on your screens at the moment, where he seems, despite the high-level meeting that he will be having hasn't dropped what he passionately held. And it continues to raise millions for charity with his passion for organic farming and the significance that it does bear, talking about this even as the Prince of Wales, that was before he even ascended to the throne. And also just this year in April 2023, the king also passionately expressed his concern over the growing use of antibiotics in farming, and which largely, again, speaks volumes about his concern over the deterioration in health of many across the world. And this is the multi-million-pound investment agreement which will give in the United Kingdom a company exclusive selling rights for struggling with farms products, and therefore he had expressed the passion that he has, and here he's being taken through the city Shamba farm, where the products of the farm is what he's paying attention to, and it's been taken through the guidance of the officials there, who are donned in the white short-sleeved polo t-shirts and explaining to the king the products of the farm, which is part of the 3 areas this afternoon that he is scheduled to visit as part of his visit to Kenya, which will also focus on other areas of interest between the United Kingdom and Kenya. Last week, the British High Commission went one further step by fusing the traditional pomp of diplomatic visits with vibrant street culture of Kenyan matatus, and it is at the Nairobi garage where the king will also be visiting, which is part of the creativity that many Kenyans have brought about in lighting up the city with the matatu culture and the graffiti that they do on matatus, which has been an area of attraction for many, including British nationals. It will be King Charles's visit, the first to a Commonwealth country since becoming a monarch in September last year, following the passing on of Queen Elizabeth, who died on the 8th of September, aged 96. She was the longest serving his mother, Queen Elizabeth, British monarch in history, and the country, Kenya, which continues to hold special significance to the royal family as it is here, where the reign of King Charles's mother, Queen Elizabeth II, or the second, began during her visit in 1952 when her father died, and she was notified of the same and went back to the United Kingdom as a queen, despite living there as princess, and was received by the wartime Prime Minister then, Sir Winston Churchill. These are live pictures coming to you from City Shamba Farm, where the Queen and where the King Charles III is visiting, and you can see he has been taken around the farm and the different products that as a result of the process of the farming at City Shamba, which is located at the Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road, where the king is visiting at the moment, and he has been taken through in explanation by officials at the farm. And thereafter, one of the other areas that he will be visiting, as that was stated by the British High Commission, is the pomp of diplomatic visits with vibrant street culture of Kenya's matatus and the graffiti. He will be at the Nairobi garage, and later the king will be visiting the signing of education agreements between the United Kingdom and Kenya, where my colleague Chamutai Goyen is, and the CS for Education Ezekiel Machogu is there, and he said the UK is a member and the largest bilateral donor of education to Kenya. The United Kingdom, he said, has made significant contributions to promoting access to education in Kenya, and that the UK has provided and study opportunity for Kenyans to chevening scholarships. The UK is to invest £4.5 million to support education reforms, including some of the recommendations that were made by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms that were put together after President William Ruto came to power, and a report handed over to the head of state at State House. And the UK will also invest in digital capabilities here in Kenya, which is part of the agreement that will be signed at the library where the King and the Queen are visiting, and we'll be getting the live pictures of the library where the officials from the UK and Kenya are who are set to sign the education agreement. And Education CS Ezekiel Machogu saying that the UK government is one of the biggest investors in education, in helping the Kenyan government with funding of the education programs in the country. Here you go. And that is the agreement being signed between the governments of the UK and Kenya. The UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly there, and Education CS Ezekiel Machogu at library. This is the area that the King and the Queen will be visiting next. And according to the Education CS, who is exchanging the agreement document between him and the UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly here at the Nairobi Library. Among others also present is the Principal Secretary of the Ministry, Belio Kipsang, and officials from the British High Commission. And that is where my colleague Chamutai Goin is, and she will be giving us an assessment shortly once the King and the Queen will be there, as they are making their way out of City Shamba, which is located at Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road, heading to the other two designated areas for visits, which is the Nairobi Garage with the UK. There we go. And then getting back to the live pictures of the King, who by his own right, this is the passion that he has for organic farming. And as we had talked about, one of his last engagements as the Prince of Wales, as I had earlier stated, before ascending to the throne after the passing on of his mother, and expressing concern about the use of antibiotics in farming, which he said is leading to a dip in the health status of many across the world, and saying that he has been vindicated to some extent. And one of his last engagement therein, where the King, according to many who had many of the publications in the United Kingdom, was branded as complete idiot for wanting to farm organically, but was proved right over his concerns about the impact of the use of antibiotics in conventional agriculture. And that is the reason as to why he is visiting City Shamba, where he is at the moment, in the company of the Queen and other officials. Government headed by the Prime Cabinet Secretary on the Foreign Affairs, CS Musalia Mudavadi, and his passion for organic farming. At one of his last official engagements as the Prince of Wales, on the day before the Queen's death, he talked about concerns that the widespread use of antibiotics could lead to increased resistance in bugs and viruses. And he said, to quote him, one of the reasons I went the organic farming way 40 years ago was because I felt there was an overuse of antibiotics. And I felt, he said, that if you overdo it, you end up with resistance. Anyway, he said that happened. That has happened. And I was told a complete idiot, he said, for even suggesting going the organic way, in defending his point as to why we should go the organic way. There's King Charles at the City Shamba in Nairobi's Eastlands, located at Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road, where he has just ended a tour of City Shamba and greeting the officials who had taken him through the farm, even at some point by himself plucking the leaves from the farm, and sought explanations where he wanted some emphasis to be laid on what has been happening in that farm, and there having a chit-chat with one of the farmers at City Shamba, and about to leave for the remaining two other engagements of the day here in the county of Nairobi on his visit set to end on the 3rd of November, and where the king will be. And he is set to be either at the Nairobi garage, where the British High Commission in Nairobi said is fused by the traditional pomp of diplomatic visits with the vibrant street culture of Kenya's Matatu sector, and thereafter at Eastlands Library, where the king will be visiting. Their Majesties, after the City Shamba visit, will be received by Nairobi County Governor Johnson Sakaja at the Eastlands Library, which was built by the British Council in 1969, later renovated during the COVID-19 pandemic, and is currently being administered by the county government of Nairobi. According to one of the directors of the library, Jacob Ananda, the library has 3,000 books that were mostly donated by Book Aid International, and usually gets busy during school closures and serves up to 300 students per day. Entrance into the library, according to the administrators, is free. The king there visiting members, greeting members of the public as he heads to his vehicle and is set to be headed for the Eastlands Library, where he will be visited, where he'll be received by Nairobi County Governor Johnson Sakaja. And thereafter, the other engagements that he will have is at the Nairobi garage, which, according to the British High Commission, in communication issued by its High Commission to Kenya, Neil Wigan, is fused with the beauty of pomp and also the beauty it does bear with regards to the Matatu culture here in Kenya. His visit to City Shamba now over, and the king will be proceeding to either of the two other destinations. Nairobi garage will be up next for his next visit, the second assignment, where he will be witnessing firsthand the vibrant street culture of the graffiti and Kenya's Matatu culture, which has been for a very long time the scene of attraction and to some degree tourist attraction, where he is set to also experience firsthand the beauty of Kenya's Matatu culture. That is the king now, who is done with his visit at City Shamba, which is located at the Mama Lucy Hospital along Kangundo Road here in the county of Nairobi, which was his first assignment this afternoon following his visit to Kenya. Let's listen in to the proceedings right away here on Citizen Television.
To be one of the places that he wanted to visit, it is such an honor for us.
What is your advice in regards to the urban population? Is it possible to have a small space and increase farming?
Sure. I would encourage more so the youth within the city to take this as an example to them, carry on with them, utilize the small spaces they have in their areas, and it will be a great experience when you come to securing food security. Thank you.
I want to talk first to her. Kuja tu. Niliona akisalimia king.
Tuna supply chickens.
Okay. What tuongee Kiswahili?
Sawa.
Unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Mary Gadhoni Kimani.
Mary? Mbona umesalimia king? Ulikuwa unatarajia utamsalimia?
Hapana, sikuwa natarajia.
Na unasikia aje?
Nimefurahia.
Hebu tuambie umuhimu wa ukulima hapa. Unafanya kazi hapa?
Nafanya hapa.
Kwa nini unafanya kazi ukulima?
Ukulima unasaidia vijana wadogo, unaepusha mambo mingi. Sasa ile time yenye unaona uko free, tunakuja kwa shamba hivyo.
Ukiona picha yako ukiwa na king na kusalimia, utaweza kuelezea nini wale wapendwa wako?
Nitafurahia.
Thank you guys.
And those are some of the officials at the City Shamba, which is located at the Mama Lucy Hospital here in the county of Nairobi along Kangundo Road, where the king just ended his visit to the Shamba, one of his passionate areas, organic farming, his last assignment also as the Prince of Wales before ascending to the throne and succeeding his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who died in September last year in 2022, also saying that he has been vindicated to some degree as being branded as an idiot in championing for organic farming by members of the press and a section of the population in the United Kingdom, expressing concern about the growing use of antibiotics, saying that has had an impact and consequences on the dip in the health status of many across the world, and therefore his visit, which is a significant one in Nairobi, and to City Shamba, and to the magnitude, despite being the King of the United Kingdom, visiting a small space where organic farming is undertaken and which embodies the symbolism of his support for organic farming across the world, that is, and largely across the Commonwealth nations, and his first visit outside the United Kingdom here in Kenya this morning, meeting President William Ruto at State House, and two more engagements and assignments for the King at the Nairobi Garage. We'll be talking more about that, and also at the Eastlands Library, where the King will be received by County Governor Johnson Sakaja, and its importance, the bookshelves, and the ease on pressure it has done for many locals who are unable to access reading materials. We'll be talking more about that, and also the delegation at the Eastlands Library by James Cleverly, the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, and his Kenyan education counterpart Ezekiel Machogu, who have signed the agreements, and will be getting more from Chemutai Goin also, who is there. You're watching this special coverage of the King and the Queen's visit to Kenya here on Citizen Television. We are back with more after the break. Stay tuned.